What's going on, everyone? Linkachu64 here, back with my very, very laughable buddy, RedAnt. How are you doing today, sir?
Pretty well. How are you?
Not too bad myself. Well, if you're watching this video, you've probably been following the news online recently that Eiji Aonuma, the director of Legend of Zelda, confirmed that the next Zelda is indeed in development, and the way that he portrayed this was through the new Breath of the Wild art book that came out in Japan called Masterworks. Mm-hmm. This is exciting. Of course, he didn't reveal any details about it or anything, but of course, it can only be one of two things, a 2D game or a 3D game. So what I decided to invite RedAnt onto the channel today to talk about it, what could this next Zelda game be? What do we expect out of it, first and foremost, and what do we want out of it?
Two different things.
Yes, two very, very different things. I'm excited to talk about this. Are you?
Yes.
This ought to be a lot of fun. Well, to start off with, like I said, it could be one of two things. It could be a 2D Zelda game, top-down perspective, isometric, maybe. No, it's not going to be isometric. But, or it could be a 3D Zelda game, fully fledged one in the vein of Breath of the Wild. So, to get things started, let's talk about the possibility of it being a 2D game. Because, as we all know, Nintendo hasn't completely abandoned the 2D model of Zelda. They came out with Link Between Worlds back in 2013.
Triforce Heroes.
Triforce Heroes, even more recently than that. When did that come out?
That was like last week.
Last week,
last year.
Yeah, that was last week. Last week, guys. You heard it here first. 2015, right? I think it was 2015 that Triforce Heroes came out. Back when the 3DS was still alive and kicking. It's still alive, maybe not kicking. But, anyway.
It's flatlining.
RedAnt.
Yes.
If it is a 2D Zelda game, what do you want to see out of it? Just to start the conversation off.
Honestly, if I was to see a 2D Zelda game, it would be, honestly, I would be fine with it being an 8-bit sort of blocky.
An 8-bit, that's
blocky version.
That would be really cool.
Sort of retro style.
Sure.
But honestly, I don't think that's what's gonna happen. I would, however, like to see another of the multiplayer aspect, something akin to Triforce Heroes or...
Triforce Heroes, that could work. I'm just stop you there. Just speak up a little bit louder so that they can hear you. Yeah. So, yeah, so you're thinking like an 8-bit style Triforce Heroes then? Do you think the two will go well together? Like...
I think it would. It would be a bit of a hassle to, the critics would eat them alive.
Probably, more than likely. Triforce Heroes wasn't incredibly popular, in the critical realm of things. But I mean, hey, you can dream, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, there is the chance that it could be like a 16-bit style game, in the vein of that's kind of had a resurgence recently with games like Sonic Mania coming out, Super Mario Maker. I want to come back to kind of speaking of Super Mario Maker, I want to come back to that a little bit later. Do you think that this could be a sequel to Link Between Worlds?
No, I think they've played out the swapping between two dimensions enough.
Really? Okay.
With Link to the Past and Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, that's
maybe
a good point.
A third. I mean, 3 Triforce, but
I guess I haven't thought of. Yeah, they have used the alternate dark dimension pretty often. Mm-hmm. So they have. I think that it could be. They probably won't use the second dimension that much. What if it was like just taking place in Low Rule or just taking place in like the Dark Realm? Mm-hmm. But do you think that's a possibility?
I think it would be. I think it's a possibility. The dark idea, think about Twilight Princess, where it's kind of deep, dark, and depressing. You have to work it up so that it's, you gain territory and sort of rejuvenate Hyrule. I think that's a possibility.
Because Low Rule, as of Link Between Worlds, was at an interesting state where they actually got their own Triforce back. Mm-hmm. So it might actually be more similar to what Hyrule was in Link Between Worlds, since they've built themselves back up again. So I would be interested in seeing like a Low Rule version that's just specific to that kind of alter ego of Hyrule. Now, you mentioned this before. Do you think it could be also a multiplayer game, just in vein of Triforce Heroes? Just throw Link Between Worlds out the window. Just we're gonna focus strictly on multiplayer here.
Do I think it's going to be a multiplayer? No. Do I want it to be a multiplayer? You sure betcha.
Really? Okay. Okay. That's yeah. I mean, I wouldn't complain. Definitely. They just need to fix their online issues. I don't feel like they implemented the trolls and the connectivity. It wasn't good last time. Maybe it's just because I had really crappy Wi-Fi. Who knows? But I heard a lot of similar complaints online whenever that game first came out. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of with you there in that I would be interested in seeing another Triforce Heroes, but it couldn't imitate it to the T. I think it'd have to be like a 2-player online because they've gone into 4 swords with 4 players. They've Triforce Heroes with 3. What if it was just a 2-player Zelda?
Or 2-player local with the Switch.
With the Switch, that would be. Oh yeah, I think that's the most likely of. Yeah, I didn't even think of that before. Yeah, that seems incredibly likely, because each of the Joy-Con has enough. They have enough buttons on its own to kind of provide for the Zelda experience. Again, you kind of touched on this before. What art style do you think will implement? You want an 8-bit. I would probably go for more. Well, are you thinking like 8-bit and like the original Zelda style?
No,
or?
I'm thinking more of 16.
Okay, like Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be cool. That would be cool. I don't think Zelda's ever really played off of that retro nostalgia before. Mario has with Mario Maker. Sonic has. Mega Man has. But Zelda has never really done anything like that. So I mean, there's a first for everything, but I don't know. I don't think they would do something like that. I personally think that it's just going to be in the Link Between Worlds style.
Yeah.
That cartoony aspect looked really nice to me. That I don't know if I was alone in that. It was on the 3DS, so the lower resolution kind of made everything look a little more flat, a little choppier. But putting that on the Switch, putting that on the Switch would be absolutely amazing. What do you think?
Gorgeous. I think it would probably be. I agree with you. It would be the Link Between Worlds style. I don't know if it would be exactly the same. I think they might go out on a limb and try something closer to Wind Waker or Breath of the Wild.
That would be nice, like a top-down Wind Waker, kind of like what is it, Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks?
Yeah,
one of those 2.
Yeah.
Those games were on the DS and they looked even choppier. They looked even worse than what Link Between Worlds looked like. So if they updated those styles on the Switch and, made it a better game than what Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks ended up being, then I think that they could take that really far.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that Link Between Worlds is kind of infamous for is its progression system. You're able to rent or buy every single weapon from the beginning of the game. Do you think that a new 2D Zelda game would kind of expound off of that and use that exact same progression system? Or do you think it's going to be more traditional? Here's an item, here's a dungeon, get this item in the dungeon, use that item to complete the dungeon, move on, rinse, repeat.
I think actually it's going to be closer to Breath of the Wild, where you where you have weapons and items that you pick up
from the very beginning, from the very start,
and then maybe upgrade them. And
that was one area where Breath of the Wild kind of everyone talking about how it reinvented the Zelda formula. If they brought that over into the 2D space, that would truly be reinventing Zelda in both sides of the spectrum. I could see that. I could definitely see that. I think I could see them doing that. I think it's more likely that it would be traditional though. I feel like Nintendo doesn't want to completely reinvent Zelda entirely. They did with Breath of the Wild, but I think that they still want to have that little bit of nostalgia there for those that just, they were into Breath of the Wild. But, yeah. So that's what I feel. That's how I feel about it. Now, Super Mario Maker. I said I'd get back to this. Do you think that it could be a Super Zelda Maker or the Legend of Zelda Maker?
I think absolutely it could be. I think it would be a great idea. You have all 3 types of levels. You have the puzzle, combat, or even sort of a runner or speedrunner type. All possible with the top-down perspective. You could swap between the different art styles.
Yes.
Of the original Legend of Zelda and Link to the Past, and Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, Link Between Worlds. Now, see, here's the thing. Super Mario Maker, it had 4 art styles. You had Mario Bros, Mario 3, Mario World, and New Super Mario Bros. U. Now, I think that if Zelda only had 3, it would feel like a bit of a downgrade. What do you think the 4th one could be? Because it's obvious, you know, the 3 most famous of those top-down art styles is, of course, original Zelda, Link to the Past, and Link Between Worlds. The 4th one is kind of up for grabs, I think. It's up for debate. What do you think it could be?
I think they could go with a Breath of the Wild / Wind Waker top-down.
You really like that Wind Waker, that Wind Waker art style. You want to see that? Yeah. I guess I could see that. I don't think it would be playing off of... Maybe they could, like... Maybe if they made a new game with a Wind Waker art style, and then after that made, like, Legend of Zelda Maker, I think that might make sense. Yeah, that would... that's interesting. I think that would be going off of, like, maybe like one of the portable games like Link's Awakening, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. It'd be tough because obviously those games were on Game Boy. They look a little rougher. They didn't have as much hardware to work with. But I don't know. I'd still appreciate it. Link's Awakening is a really fun game. I don't know if have you played the Link's Awakening before? Okay. Well, it's still a fun game. Well, anyway, kind of wrapping up the 2D section. What do you ultimately want to see out of a new 2D Zelda?
I want to see a decent 2-player story mode, local 2-player, where you can play with a friend or play by yourself, and you can sort of use it like what's something similar, like Mario Odyssey almost, where you have 2 players. But then you can play it by yourself if you want to. Because,
I don't know if you ever played Minish Cap before. Minish Cap had the idea of your hat being kind of your companion before Mario Odyssey even did. Eslo was his name in Minish Cap. That's a fun game, by the way. Play that if you haven't. That's an underrated Zelda game. But, yeah, I could see that. You think it would be something similar to, like, Minish Cap Eslo, where you're controlling the hat of Link?
I think that they'd probably have to let the hat idea rest for a little bit.
Okay.
I was thinking more of a second companion, like a companion player who comes in every once in a while, or even just a dedicated.
Like Medley from Wind Waker, or oh man, there's I'm totally blowing this, but yeah, there's or maybe like what's her name, Saria from Ocarina of Time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she could be or maybe like one of the 4 champions from Breath of the Wild. There's a lot of potential there for like a 2-player Zelda. That isn't primarily 2-player. That you have the option of 2-player, but that's not necessarily the main focus. Well, okay, that was fun. Talked about 2D Zelda. Now let's move on to the big guns, I suppose. I mean, 2D Zelda, 3D Zelda, they're both awesome, but if they were to make a new 3D Zelda directly after coming off of Breath of the Wild, one of the literally best games ever made, it would be very very hard to top Breath of the Wild. But let's suppose for the moment that they do create another 3D game coming directly out of Breath. Grant, RedAnt, do you think that it will be made with the same engine that Breath of the Wild used? Do you think it will be similar to Majora's Mask, in that Majora's Mask, it was made using the exact same assets and engine that Ocarina of Time used, and they were able to push it out in just a year afterwards. And Majora's Mask is personally my favorite Zelda game. It's one of the better Zelda games. So do you think that they'll pull a similar stunt with that?
I think they probably will. Well, yeah, I think they could. It probably... I don't know if they'd have the Sheikah Slate still. They might abandon that idea in favor of some sort of other mechanic.
Okay.
But I think that it would be favorable for them to do that.
Okay. I think it would have to be. I think it would mirror Majora's Mask if that were the case. I think it would be a darker tone, kind of creepier, off the beaten path of what Zelda normally does. I mean, Breath of the Wild was already completely different from any Zelda before it, but to expound off of that and make something totally different from that Zelda, would be a very bold move, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, assuming for the moment that it does run off of the same engine, what defining aspect do you think that it should do differently than Breath of the Wild in order to separate it from that game and make people want to buy this new Zelda game?
I think the defining aspect for me would be more freedom in terms
more
of
freedom. Wow.
Yeah.
This man wants his cake and wants to eat it too.
So the idea that I was thinking of is you could expand upwards. You could have a wingsuit, like sort of powered wingsuit that you could fly around and do sort of aerial maneuvers.
Oh, so you want them to ditch the paraglider just entirely? Or...
I don't know. I'd have to.
Well, I mean, if you have a wingsuit, why would you need a paraglider if you could just literally fly?
Okay, yeah, maybe. And then also underwater, you could have more of Twilight Princess, where they had the swimming underwater and doing that. Except it would be bigger, and the controls would obviously be better because nobody's ever liked underwater controls.
No. But hopefully they could get it right this time with the underwater levels. But continue.
And the other thing is, underwater you would be able to gather resources and all that sort of thing. And fight enemies, and it would have to be sort of equivalent in terms of like action and bases and things that you could have more just as much action and mechanics and stuff that you could work with underwater.
Do you think that? Do you think that you will have to be forced to swim underwater, or do you think it will be something similar to the metal boots in Ocarina of Time, where it drags you down to the bottom of the lake and you walk on the bottom?
I think if they were gonna do it, they would have something like the Zora mask and the magic, where you can just aim.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Or kind of like the Zora armor in Breath of the Wild, where it lets you swim faster, but this time it would be underground. I like that idea. That's underwater. Sorry, yeah, underground. Yo, you heard it first here. Next Zelda game, you will be able to swim underground. Yeah, using the mole soup. That's right. But anyway, so you want to see underwater or underground, and you want to see Link fly.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like you're asking an awful lot. I think that in terms of the defining aspect, you know, I'm a super big Majora's Mask fan. I think that they should do the same sort of Groundhog Day aspect that Majora's Mask had it to it, where you're repeating the same 3 days over and over. I love that about that game. That was so innovative. But I remember playing that game. I didn't understand how any other game could possibly do without starting over the 3-day cycle. And to some degree, I still can't. But that's what I want to see. I want to see just literally, Nintendo, please just rip off Majora's Mask. That game needs so much more love. That would be incredible. So I'm asking, do what I want, give a 3-day cycle, and do what he wants, make Link fly, and make him go underwater, and make him swim underground. Yeah, that's basically that's all we're asking. That doesn't sound too hard, right? Just throw another, $10 million at the budget. There you go. It's no big deal. Now, what do you think it should do similarly to Breath of the Wild? If it's using the same engine, then I mean it's going to do a lot similarly, of course. But
yeah, I think it would be able to do a lot. For instance, you could have a material system where you, whenever you kill enemies or you gather plants, and you have a big stockpile of materials in his infinite reaches of pockets. And
Link has an entire universe just down his pouch. He can reach down there and grab whatever he wants to.
But you could gather materials and use them to upgrade things, and even cook.
Sure. So yeah, that's something that Breath of the Wild really emphasized was cooking. I think they could improve it a bit, streamline it, narrow it down. In Breath of the Wild, you would have pages and pages and pages of stuff to kind of sort through in order to find. I think if they ditched a few of the monster parts, got rid of a few of the items, made it a little more streamlined, I think that would be for the better. Not too streamlined though. The cooking is fun. Cooking is very fun in that game. Also, ditch the hardy radishes and the just the items that will renew all of your health in one go. Did you ever cook a hearty radish in Breath of the Wild? It'll literally just, you cook one item, it revives all of your hearts plus a few extra, to the point where there's literally no need to cook like meat or do any hunting or anything. So ditch those, make it so that cooking is actually required, and you actually need to be very creative with it, and I think that would be a good idea. So that's the material system. Do you think it will have the same kind of open story that Breath of the Wild has, where obviously in Breath of the Wild you're able to go to any of the 4 divine beasts in whatever order you want? It was kind of divisive whenever the game first came out. I mean, some people just wanted the same linear story. What do you think?
I think it's, in my opinion, it was a really good idea because you could play through on a different account and do it a different way and figure out how you could do it. Like, for instance, whenever I first did it, I went through and I got the Zora Divine Beast first.
Mm-hmm. I think most people did that.
Yeah, and as such, because it's closest to Kakariko Village,
sure.
And as such, I was a lot slower, but I also didn't die as much. But then on my Master Mode playthrough, I went over and I got the Rito one first, and it's so much easier because you can go and you can transverse like a big giant gap just by using Rivali's Gale.
There's a lot of customization.
Yeah.
And with that, I think there were, around the release of Breath of the Wild, there were so many different stories because everyone would go off in their own different directions, and whenever you meet up with somebody, they'd have like different clothes on that you didn't recognize, a different ability, and you're like, what? How did you get over there? There's some really cool stories on the initial release of the launch because of that open-ended freedom. I think that Nintendo wants to sell this game as its own game. I think they want to differentiate from Breath of the Wild, so I think that they're going to make it a linear story, just to separate it, make it worth people's time, and make it not just seem like another DLC add-on to Breath of the Wild for $60.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're going to do.
$60.
The $60 DLC. Wow, that would not be good. Now, arguably the most debatable aspect that Breath implemented that other Zelda games didn't have was the weapon durability mechanic. Honestly, there was like a 50-50 divide down the middle of do you like having your weapons break? Do you not like it? And you would get very, very varied answers. First of all, before you go into that, how do you feel about Breath of the Wild's weapon durability?
I really liked it. I feel like it kept you on your toes and made
me
you
too.
always looking
Me
for
too.
it.
I was on that side of the coin. I don't think that if you had all these weapons, it would be good to make them permanent. Yeah, or even last that much longer. So do you think that the next 3D Zelda game should use that?
I don't know about that, because if I had it my way and they had flying underwater and stuff, you would probably have a lot of weapons that would be specific for like a different type of transport, like a air weapon would be better. But honestly, I think that they probably won't do that in this one.
Okay. Fair enough.
It would kind of be just better just to play it safe. And
I think they'll mix it up. I think that they will have a few weapons that are just permanent. They stay with you. The Master Sword, and maybe a few others, like maybe your bow. But I think that those will be relatively weak compared to everything else in the game. Maybe not super weak, but compared to like the best weapons in the game that you can get, it'll be like half as much. It'll do half as much damage. And those weapons that do the most damage in the entire game, they will break. But your kind of standard go-to weapons that you can use at any time you want to will never break. I think that's what it's going to be. Obviously, Breath of the Wild, the Master Sword, it would break, but you could regain it in 10 minutes. And if you ever completed the Trial of the Sword, it took a very long time for it to break. I think that they're going to extend that and just make it permanent, like any other Zelda game. I think they're gonna balance it out. We already kind of talked about cooking at least a little bit. We already talked about the changes. We already talked about your underwater and underground areas. Now, Shrines.
Yeah.
We should talk about shrines. Do you think that in this new 3D Zelda game, first of all, do you think that they will have shrines at all? Do you think that's a mainstay for the new formula of the Zelda series, or do you think that was specific to Breath of the Wild?
That's a good question. I think that shrines were, honestly, they were the new heart. Heart container piece.
Yes. Yeah. That's right.
And so, they could go back to the heart piece and do that. But honestly, I think that shrines were a good part of it. And at least if they were to theme the shrines after the area and make like a forest shrine.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more later. But yeah, I think shrines are a mainstay at this point, at least in terms of 3D Zeldas. I don't know about 2D yet. They haven't made a 2D Zelda since Breath of the Wild reinvented the Zelda formula. Yeah. But I think shrines are here to stay. Now, do you think there will be less of them though? Do you think that they might balance it out a little bit more by just kind of making shrines slightly more of a
robust.
Robust, a little bit bigger, but there's only like maybe 60, 80, something like that.
Yeah, I think the number of shrines is definitely very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I think shrines could be more of a major discovery.
Okay.
And you have to fight to get to them, almost like a dungeon or a tower.
Sure.
But instead of that level of a fight, it would just be, you have like a one boss that's kind of guarding it, and then you get the key, and then you open the shrine.
Okay.
And then you go in, and then you do the shrine.
So it's essentially like a mini dungeon.
Yeah.
A bunch of many dungeons.
Yeah.
I like that idea. So what do you think would happen to dungeons in that case?
In that case, I think dungeons would still be here, but they would be bigger.
Bigger
than in Breath of the Wild, at least.
Ah, okay. I think that if dungeons come back, I would like to see the dungeons not all follow the same kind of design and format. I mean, it's cool. I thought some of the dungeons in Breath of the Wild were really brilliant, especially the last DLC Pack 2 one. That one was awesome.
That one was really cool.
But they all followed kind of the same feel.
Rotate.
Yeah, and they all like, this kind of, you're inside of a mechanical being. They all had gears. I want to see the more varied kind of look and feel of older Zelda games where you have your fire temple, your water temple, I want to see that back. I want that to come back. But maybe not necessarily with shrines. Shrines could still kind of Do you think that they both would be themed? Do you think that shrines might have that same kind of theme where if you're in the underwater or underground section of Hyrule, it would be themed after underwater parts, or if you're in the Goron lava section, it'll have lava.
I think underwater shrines would definitely be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
The sort of mechanics that you could do with currents or...
the infamous water temple from Ocarina of Time,
yes.
Of course, yeah. Things like that. Now, do you think that it'll be both? Like, dungeons will be themed, and shrines will also be themed?
I think that they should, but shrines could be a little less themed.
Okay.
Like,
fair enough.
Some generic where they have the music playing in the background and you see the constellations and stuff. You have the more generic shrines, but then you'll have ones that are in notable areas where it's got a definite feel to it.
Okay. Yeah. That's man, I totally agree with that. I hope they do that. Now, do you think that they'll have any new items? I think that they have to.
They need to bring back the claw shot.
Yes, that's the first and foremost right there. I had that right in my mind. Like, do you think that they'll pull a Twilight Princess and do like the Spider-Man double claw shot?
I hope so.
That would be really cool.
That was one of my favorite parts of any Zelda game ever.
Yeah.
The double claw shot.
Turn directly into Tom Holland or Tobey Maguire and just there you go. Claw shot. What are some other items that we could see?
I think the spinner from Twilight Princess might make a comeback if it's a Breath of the Wild.
Maybe.
Kind of style game. You could bring back the spinner and make it a little more, give it a more robust places a larger set of places that you can use it.
Okay.
Because the spinner, if anybody played Twilight Princess, they know that the spinner was very specialized. Even though it was such a cool item, because
you can only use it in a certain few places.
Tracks,
yeah. Of course, yeah. Now, I think that if you're referring to like a specific transportation item, we kind of have that in Breath of the Wild now. We have the motorcycle. Yeah. Do you think that if they, I gotta disagree with you. I don't think they're gonna bring the spinner back. I think that was specific to Twilight Princess just as an item for a few dungeons. Yeah. But do you think that they'll bring the motorcycle back?
Maybe. That one honestly had such a controversial.
I don't think it was controversial.
Really?
No. I don't think so at all. I think the thing about that was that it was basically the last item that you would ever get in Zelda.
Yeah.
So it was overpowered, you know. But since you'd already completed the game, it didn't matter.
Yeah. I would like to see it as sort of a
end game item, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, like the start of the game, like you have like a really crappy motorcycle.
Oh.
And then you upgrade it with the materials that you get from shrines, and then you get better suspension, better jump,
leather jacket, sunglasses, tattoos. I see what you're going with there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that. I could totally see that. I think. What if going back to the hook shot and other items that they might bring back or implement? Do you think that they will be kind of generic, like items that you'll find on the ground, like in Breath of the Wild, where you find weapons, or do you think it will be a permanent addition to your repertoire?
I think it'll be a permanent addition. Maybe if they have something more like a grappling hook that might be breakable. But
possibly,
I think that a hook shot would definitely be something of a permanent.
Well, on the one hand, I could definitely see where you're going with that. That could be like one of your runes, kind of in comparing it to Breath of the Wild, at least. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I would really like to see it as a kind of one of the breakable weapons, because you could have different lengths. Between hook shots, different durability, obviously. You could have elemental ones where if you shoot at an enemy, it freezes them, or electrocutes them, or poisons them. Could that be like a new element?
Poisonous hook shot.
Yeah.
You're getting a little...
I don't know. I can dream, right?
Electric would be cool, though.
Yeah. I think that's a likable, or no, that's... I like English a lot.
Feasible.
Feasible. I'm good with words, but yeah, I'm with you. I think they will, if they bring it back, they will make it permanent to your repertoire. But man, I would just really love to see like themed hook shots. That would be really cool. I don't think it's gonna happen though. Probably not. No, this entire time we've been talking about the new 3D Zelda game as if it's just an add-on. Expansion pack, not an expansion pack, but built with the same engine that Breath of the Wild used. What if it's not? What if we have it all wrong? What if Nintendo is going to spend the next 4 or 5 years just building an entirely new Zelda game with a new art style? What if that's the case?
That's going to be a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
I'd have to say that it would be... It's quite possible and even maybe likely, but I wouldn't.
It's tough. It's very tough. I mean, I could see it happening. If they are building it up from the ground up, I mean, I don't think there's much we can comment on it about. Personally, if they're doing that, I would love to see another 3D Zelda in the vein, in the art style of Wind Waker. They haven't done that. Yeah. They haven't done that since Wind Waker. That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. I don't know though. I think that they're leaving that in the past. The last one with a Toon Link style art style was Triforce Heroes, actually. I think that that's forever doomed to 2D Zelda games. Maybe not forever, but I don't see Wind Waker art style coming back to 3D Zelda anytime soon. But if they're building it from the ground up, I don't think there's much we can say about it. I think they're still going to keep the new formula that Breath of the Wild put in place, regardless of whether it's the same engine or not. But yeah, I mean, I hope it's not. I hope it's not, because that means that we have another 5, 6, even 7 year wait until the next one. I'll be like 25 or something like that. It's not gonna. I can't wait that long for Zelda. But well, kind of wrapping up. I mean, we talked a lot about 2D Zelda, 3D Zelda. Let's wrap up. Let's talk about whether or not it's 2D Zelda or 3D Zelda. There's a few things that could apply to either. How do you think Nintendo will implement DLC in the future?
Okay, I think DLC. I hope they don't do microtransactions.
Oh wait, speak up a little bit.
I think DLC would be a good addition. They'd have to make it somewhat unique. I think the Breath of the Wild DLC was a little lacking in terms of new experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all expected kind of a new story, right? And it was lacking a lot of story content. Well, the Master Trials. I like Master Trials, but
Master Trials are really awesome.
But do you think it was worth the money? Do you think it was worth the $20?
Yes.
I think it was worth the $20. The far and away you get get like 15 hours of content.
Yeah.
Even more. Well, with Master Mode, I mean, quite a bit more than 15 hours. But
should see my play count.
this guy, I'm telling you, he's at like what 250
something close to
yeah,
that. Yeah,
he's crazy how much. I think I'm at like 180 or something.
Well, you have a bunch of games.
Yeah, it's true. But how they will implement DLC in the future, I think that if it's a 3D Zelda game, I think that's one way that Zelda Breath of the Wild really, it brought new things to the series, and I think it brought DLC to the series in this case.
Yeah.
Definitely, at least with 3D Zelda. With 2D Zelda, I think it depends. If it's kind of a Super Zelda Maker, I could see them adding in like extra items, extra skin packs. Yeah. They didn't do that with Mario Maker, so I feel like maybe as like free updates they'd add in skin packs, and maybe as paid DLC they add in like new items, new things you could toy around with. But as in like a real 2D Zelda that's actually an adventure that you're going on, that's tough. That's tougher. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Well, do you think that there's a possibility that we could be getting multiplayer in the next 3D or 2D Zelda game?
I think that multiplayer is definitely very feasible for the Switch.
Yeah.
Because of the 2 Joy-Con. It's just you immediately have two controllers.
Sure, at least with 2D Zelda. In terms of 3D Zelda, I don't think you would be able to do the Joy-Con on its side.
Well, you could. You would definitely need to use motion controls.
Maybe. I think you'd need probably like 2 Pro controllers or 2 sets of Joy-Con in order to do 3D Zelda multiplayer. Do you think that... okay. 2D Zelda, probably a good chance of multiplayer, right?
Yeah.
3D Zelda. What do you think about that?
I think that, okay, maybe not a multiplayer, but I think that an online scoreboard of things like Trial of the Sword.
Oh yeah.
Or what's an equivalent?
Trial of the Sword. I think Trial of the Sword is probably the best example. Mario Odyssey did something similar to that. You haven't played that yet, but you are able to, for anyone who's played Mario Odyssey, obviously, you're able to go through the Koopa races, and there's a scoreboard next to it that you can go onto and see the online world rankings, see how you rank next to your friends and stuff like that. It's not multiplayer online per se, but it was still this kind of cool way to see how you stack up next to people. So do you see it as being kind of something similar to that, or
or even like a Ghost Runner, like
a Ghost Run? Oh,
like you can see them like going like where you're while you're playing it, you can see them running off and like getting blown up by a guardian or something.
That might be kind of distracting.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that works with Mario. Maybe not so much with Zelda, because you're really doing Mario. It's just run, jump, throw Cappy. With Zelda, you have a bajillion different inputs and commands that you're having to put in. So I think that might not work, but an online scoreboard might.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a chance of any actual multiplayer?
Actual multiplayer. I think that a Coliseum like style duel.
Kind of like Minecraft's. Minecraft has a battle mode.
Oh
in it,
yeah,
yeah,
their battle mode.
Yeah,
it would be like that. You could go in
yeah.
and get you'd get an item, and you'd have to use that against the other player, but
That'd
you'd
be
have
cool.
different items.
So that's something that would be amazing, no doubt. Do you think it would actually happen?
I think it probably won't.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm sure somebody could like make. I'm sure somebody's gone online and made like a bootleg version of that or something where you could like, or you could go and play Rainbow Six Siege online if you want, or yeah, there's plenty of other options for that. I don't think it's feasible, unfortunately. I think Nintendo wants to keep it a pure single player adventure experience, and I don't think that they're going to compromise that. You know, in terms of online multiplayer, you have Splatoon 2, of course. You have Mario Kart. There are already other ways that you can play that on the Switch. But yeah, that brings up another question. I think. Do you think that the next 3D Zelda will come to Switch, or do you think it will be past the life cycle, past in like the year what, like 20? Well, it does not have the year on it. In the year like 2025 or.
I think the Switch might be a permanent fixture. I think it probably will. If it's a 3D Zelda, it's coming. It's probably going to come to the Switch. If it's 2D Zelda, I think it might. There's a small chance that it might be on the Switch, but no, not on the Switch. On the 3DS.
Okay. Yeah. I think Nintendo's done with that console. Of course, I say that every time, but it ends up not being true. They keep on bringing it back. I'm kind of the opposite. I think that if it's 2D Zelda, then those are easier to push out. I think it's definitely going to be on the Switch. I think if it's 3D Zelda, I think there's less of a chance. I think there's still a chance because obviously Breath of the Wild came out day one of the Switch, so they have a lot more of a time span to get it out before the Switch's life cycle is over.
Then again, the Switch, what comes after the Switch?
Yeah, that's true.
Click.
Yeah, that's true. You go check it out, or either side. Check that eye in the corner for what comes after the Switch. I made a video on that. But regardless, yeah, it's really tough. It is very, very tough, I think. Well, I think another big question. Do you think Link will have voice acting?
I honestly, I would despise that with every fiber of my being.
If it's 2D, it's not. He's not going to have voice acting. Yeah.
If it's 3D,
it would have to be a very big 3D game, like in order to make that kind of leap to hear Link say anything beyond "yeah," but
or ooh.
A lot of people want it.
A
ton of people want Link to talk. I don't. I'm fine with Link being the silent hero, the silent protagonist.
He does it pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. In the same way that, Mario does. I mean, he says, "Let's go," and whatnot. But, I mean, for the most part, he's just kind of the silent hero, like Link. I don't want to see that happen, but it might be likely. It might happen.
It's likely.
It might happen. It's feasible. That's for sure. Well, final question. What do you honestly think? What will be the order of the next couple Zelda games that come out? What does the future of the series really hold?
Honestly, I think the next one, unless they pull something crazy and they've already got like a whole nother engine like built, I think that the next Zelda game is going to be 2D. And then
speak up a little bit.
I think the next Zelda game is going to be 2D.
2D, okay.
Probably, maybe 3D. But I think that the 3D is kind of hard for them to push out.
Of course, yeah, of course. Breath of the Wild took over $100 million to develop with a team of over 300 programmers. So, yeah, I mean, 2D Zelda. I'm kind of with you. I think the way it's going to work out is that we're going to see a 2D Zelda. If we do see of Zelda Maker, Legend of Zelda Maker, it's going to be after the 2D Zelda, and they're going to use this next 2D Zelda as the art style. That is, unless if it's using a Link Between Worlds art style, which is also practical, I think. But I don't think that they're going to come out with the Zelda Maker before the next 2D Zelda. And then, after all that, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, I think there's going to be a new, a third dimension in the Zelda series. And I think it's going to be similar to Majora's Mask. That's what I think.
All right.
That is totally what I think. Well, do you have any concluding thoughts, sir?
Don't make voice acting!
And Underground, make
Link swim underground.
Yes, there you go. That's how you
all
do
you
it.
need to do.
Yeah, I think I
One happy customer.
yeah. I don't know what else I actually want. I just want swimming underground because, I don't know what else to say. Well, anyways, guys, on that weird note, I think we will end this very lengthy conversation. Dang, we talked for about 45 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Good conversation, good discussion. Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. You did a good job making it this far, hearing our hyped up teenage voices talking about our favorite game series in the entire world. It's your favorite game series, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. It's my favorite game series too. But tell me, what do you think? Leave us a comment as long as this video is. I want to read everything that you have to say. Do you think the next game? Yeah. What?
About that long.
About that long? Yeah. About yay high. High. Yes. Yay high. But well, let us know. Is it going to be a 2D game? Is it going to be a 3D game? Is it going to be a Zelda Maker? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, if you're new to the channel, I'm Likachu64. This guy is RedAnt. You don't have a channel, or
no?
Okay. Well, I'm Likachu64. I talk about everything Nintendo, Nintendo Switch, Zelda, the next Zelda, whenever the heck that's announced. And if you're interested, make sure you subscribe, catch all my latest content. Yeah, and make sure you go follow my Instagram. It's Likachu_64. I do all sorts of content and news postings and whatnot over there. RedAnt, would you want to come back on the show in the future? Or
I don't see why not.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Right now, I'm kind of on somewhat of a low budget at the moment. I don't have the necessary equipment, but maybe after I finish getting a better computer, it'd be nice to have you on when I can do some more high quality production. Well, anyways, guys, again, thank you so much for watching our discussion. And what are you still doing here?